Hello, and welcome to River Network's self-paced learning series focused on key characteristics of a healthy organization. This is the second of 4 episodes in this series meant for new or young groups and organizations, or those organizations looking for a reset or refresh. In this episode, we're going to talk about leadership models. Whether a group or organization is just starting out or years into their work, evaluating different ways to structure leadership is a worthwhile conversation. Leadership models often indicate the way decisions are made. Having a leadership model that complements your organization's needs, values, and goals can increase efficiency and impact. For those who aren't familiar with River Network, we work to grow and strengthen a national network of water, justice, and river advocates. We convene and build our network with training, resources, peer groups, technical support, funding support, and in-person gatherings like our national conference, River Rally. River Network envisions a powerful and inclusive movement that ensures abundant, clean water for all people and nature to thrive. We believe that joy and hope for our planet flows through our rivers. Our work includes 3 focus areas: climate-resilient communities, healthy and resilient rivers, and clean, safe, affordable drinking water. We work to build strong organizations and leaders across all of these focus areas, which is what brings us here today to talk about the key characteristics of a healthy organization. At River Network, we know that we do our best work in partnership with others. This video training series is a collaboration with the Hudson River Watershed Alliance, an organization in New York State that is uniting and empowering communities to protect their shared waters. Funding for this series comes in part from the New York State Environmental Protection Fund through the Hudson River Estuary Program. If you watched the first episode in this series, you'll recall that we were working off of the organizational health checklist, which includes 5 characteristics all organizations should work toward establishing. The first item on the checklist was the mission statement, which we covered in episode 1. Today, we're focusing on leadership and building more context around the prompts provided on the checklist. When you think about leadership, what comes to mind? In the nonprofit and community organization space, we might think of the board of directors for an organization, a community advisory group, committees, trustees, or others. In general, leadership describes the person or people responsible for making decisions. There are a lot of different ways to describe those involved in decision-making and different ways to distribute decision-making throughout a group or an organization. Things any leader is generally responsible for include vision-oriented work, like long-term goals and planning, fiscally oriented work, like budgets and resources, and governance-oriented work, like oversight and evaluation. These categories, vision, finance, and governance, will likely look a little different for every group or organization, but they are essential to success and will occupy the bulk of a leader's attention. If this episode is already feeling a little high level, pause here and check out this resource from BoardSource, a trusted capacity building organization. This checklist from their website covers the basic functions of a nonprofit board of directors. Whether or not your group uses a board or is focusing leadership investments on a board, the list of responsibilities here is widely applicable to all groups and organizations. Take some time to review it and check off what's already happening effectively in your organization, and circle or highlight things you know you need support in. Orienting around a list of responsibilities can be a good way to ground a conversation about leadership. As stated before, there are a lot of ways to design leadership structures to complement the work of your organization. We are going to cover 5 possibilities today. Remember that there is no right or wrong way to approach leadership structures. If the structures presented here don't resonate with you, you can make your own unique structure. Hopefully, this overview gives you an idea of what's possible, inspires some creativity for your group or organization, and offers examples to build from. The first model is the most common and one you've likely experienced. Single-point leadership is the most traditional form of leadership. One person sits at the top of a hierarchy and is in charge. That person takes most, if not all, decisions and is responsible for delegating decisions to others. Benefits of this model include knowing who is in charge and having confidence in where to direct needs, concerns, or requests. Additionally, this model can produce quick decisions. Sometimes it's called efficient. Downsides to single-point leadership include the leader feeling burnt out or overcommitted. as well as experiencing decision fatigue. Others in the group might be feeling disempowered or disengaged. The top-down nature of this model can be efficient, but it isn't usually relational or inclusive. Co-leadership is a spin on the single-point model, where two people share the power at the top of a hierarchy. They collaborate on decisions and distribute duties between each other, ideally in a strengths-based way that supports each leader. In general, this model leads to less burnout by distributing the workload and allows the leaders to use their most refined skills and knowledge areas in their roles. Ideally, leaders come in with different skill sets, not redundant ones. Downsides to this model include conflict. Anytime we invite others into decision making, there certainly will be conflict. And risk of inequitable workload distribution. This model requires a high level of trust between both leaders and clear communication with others involved about what the roles and duties of each leader are. A third model we can look at is leadership teams. Leadership teams distribute decision-making even further. This model still utilizes hierarchy, but 3 or more people are in charge and have defined areas of influence. Again, this model ideally uses a strengths-based approach to distribute the work and decisions amongst leaders, increasing their confidence in their roles and reducing burnout overall. Often, a leadership team will include a finance person, a programs person, and an operations person. These 3 roles make up the general oversight of an organization and replicate all of the tasks that a single-point model would pass along to a single leader. This model does introduce more points of contact for others at the organization or in the group, which can be confusing. It requires frequent and clear communication about who is responsible for what, as well as trust among members of the leadership team to lead in their respective roles. A less hierarchical method of leadership is the concept of working groups. Instead of having a point of leadership, working groups have rotational leadership and focus on specific projects or outcomes. Groups form when needs arise based on who has the time and skills to address the need, and dissolve when the need is met. There is a collaborative distribution of work that allows individuals to practice their leadership skills, step into and out of different roles, and learn new skills from others in the group. Be cautious of work stagnating in these groups, especially if group members are unwilling to rotate roles and responsibilities. These groups require high investments in communication and trust to accomplish their work. The final model we'll cover today is flat. Flat organizations have no hierarchy at all. Everyone is on the same level, and decision-making roles are distributed across the entire group. An equitable approach promotes that those with the time, talent, and capacity to take on a decision are the ones involved in it. This is the most distributed model of leadership, meaning it requires the most amount of communication, trust, and relational infrastructure. Decision-making often moves slower in these groups simply because more people are engaged in the decision, and part of the process is finding the appropriate person or group of people to make a given decision. Slow isn't bad, though. As the proverb goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. As you evaluate the different models and think through what might work best for your group or organization, here are some guiding questions that might assist you. First, are you missing skills in your current leader or leadership team that could be addressed with the addition of more leaders or groups? 2, does your leadership team model advance the work of the organization well? Related, does it reflect the values of the group or the goals of the organization? 3, regardless of which model you're using, do the people involved in your organization understand how decisions are made and who is making them? 4, is there a shared vision for how leaders interface with others at the organization? This gets us thinking about a top-down approach versus different organizational structures. These questions start to probe at what your group or organization might need from a leader or a leadership team. As you answer these questions, write down other curiosities that come up for you and your group. Continue working through them. Deciding on a leadership model doesn't need to happen immediately. It may be something you address with experimentation over time. One thing that can support any of the leadership models we've presented in this episode is the utilization of a decision-making model. There are a few common ones we'll share today, but many more do exist. Just like leadership models, decision-making models can be adapted to work for any group. Take what you need and leave the rest. The first model we'll discuss is MOCA. This model has 5 interest groups, including the manager, owner, consulted, helper, and approver. The manager supports and holds everyone else accountable through delegation. They serve as a resource and review progress of the rest of the team. The owner has overall responsibility for driving the project forward and coordinating steps, people, and resources. The consulted group provides input and perspective, makes recommendations, and engages in feedback about the project or decision. Helpers implement aspects of the work, contribute to project outcomes, and receive delegated tasks from the owner. The approver signs off on the final product or final decision. Depending on the project or decision, some of the roles in the MOCA model may be filled by the same people, so don't be concerned if your group or organization relies on less than 5 people, or if you have a work group with less than 5 people. Let's take a look at an example, and we'll use this example twice. Hannah, that's me, is developing a work plan for a watershed group. She will need to organize ideas and resources, work with the board to assign roles, and present the plan for approval. The plan will be written and published online. Using the MOCA model, we can assign a manager, which in this case might be the board president of the watershed group. The owner is Hannah. That's the consultant coordinating everyone else and putting the work plan together, really driving that process forward. Folks who might be consulted in this process could be a board committee. I just put board committee ABC. Maybe it's a program committee of sorts. Maybe some community partners that support the work that we do. These could be considered content experts with key information about what needs to happen. Helpers could include the board vice chair, the program director, or the communications chair. They're helping me populate the plan and get it online and available. And the approver is likely going to be the board of directors voting. They get the final say on the direction of the plan as they have oversight of the organization. These are just a few examples of people who might end up in these different roles. A second decision-making model, which is similar but gives different options for filling roles, is called Darcy. In general, I think Darcy works better with larger groups and MOCA works better with smaller groups. However, they're both very adaptable and effective. Darcy includes a decision maker who gives the ultimate and final approval for a project. This is one person or perhaps even a small group. The accountable person, who is fully accountable for driving the project forward, similar to a project manager. A responsible group that includes those carrying out the project and actually doing the work. A consulted group who's solicited for input, feedback, and guidance. And then an informed group, who are those that need to be kept appraised of the updates and decisions made. This model can also be used without a decision maker, in which case it's called RACI, R-A-C-I. We'll use the same example of before when I was creating a work plan for a watershed group, but this time we're going to apply Darcy. In this instance, the decision maker is a board vote. Just like the previous example, they're still giving final sign-off on that work plan. The accountable person is the board president. They're overseeing all of the other workers. The responsible person is Hannah. Once again, I'm the one driving the process forward, coordinating all of the other people and resources we need to make the work plan. I'm working with the board vice chair and the program director, if there is one, on that to gather the right information. The responsible party or the responsible group is consulting with the board committee, community partners, perhaps even volunteers who are involved in programming. And then Darcy is interesting because it includes this informed group. We're going to inform the board of directors, staff, and key volunteers So this group is new and takes into account that there are people involved in projects and decisions who aren't necessarily completing work but need to be kept informed of changes in progress because it impacts them. Like I said before, RACI is a version of Darcy that removes the decision maker, and this might work better in working groups or flat organizations which don't support as much hierarchy. To recap this episode, we discussed general tasks that leaders take on, including vision, finance, and governance roles. We reviewed 5 leadership models and acknowledged that your organization or group might benefit from something we didn't cover today or a hybrid of the ideas we did cover. We also did a quick overview of the MOCA and Darcy decision-making models. There are more models out there, so if these don't feel responsive to your needs, embark on some research or adapt something to fit your group. We hope you found this episode useful. This is the second of 4 episodes in this series covering the items on the organizational health checklist. The next episode will cover role definition for leadership and non-leadership positions in your group or organization. You can reference the checklist at any time for an overview of this episode's topic, available for download from Hudson River Watershed Alliance or River Network. Thanks for joining us for episode 2 of the Organizational Health video series. For resources to support your organization or group, visit River Network's website at rivernetwork.org. We have additional videos, downloadable resources, and tools for your use.